safely ensconced, still in the bunker, because I'm not convinced that the air's okay to breathe out there. Is it all right up there?
Yeah, I went out just a few minutes ago to load my car up, and the skies were blue, and
All right.
it's a lot less hazy than it was the last couple days. And
Okay, we can come out then. So this
yeah,
is a very special edition of the Jim Reith Show Unleashed podcast. Producer Bill is the one that came up with this and said, "Man, we got to do something about this." And this, of course, is the term limits fiasco that's going on right now, which I believe is it's just politics and really childish politics that are being played right now. But we'll let all the players involved, except for the legislature, who still refuses to come on the podcast, the legislature chairwoman. Um, I just want an explanation as to why this is going the way that it is. Because if something doesn't stop, then it goes to the courts, and the county executive will win handily. So I don't know, man. But I'm glad you came up with this, because this turned out to be really good. We talked with County Executive Ryan McMahon, who is not in town, by the way. He's in New Orleans for a nationwide conference, and I like him going to these things and bringing business and ideas back from them. So he's down there, but he joined us, which is he's being very good to us, in being good, very good to you, all of you, uh, in giving us firsthand knowledge of exactly what went on. Which, shall we run that, Producer Bill? And
yeah.
see
Just as a caveat, we had some technical difficulties that we had to
you
work
cleaned it up
around,
really nicely. So,
but we cleaned it up, and you're going to see a picture of Ryan, and you'll hear the interview. So here we go.
Ryan, the term limits bill obviously is what we're going to talk about today. And first of all, from your perspective, lay out exactly what happened.
Yeah, no, we had a public hearing that morning. Needs Just so everybody understands, people criticize timing of these public hearings. We have a short window to make them work. Within 70, we have to notice 72 hours, and we have 10 days to sign it, or veto it. And so, related to this, I'm out of town at a national conference. I had to leave town that day, so we had to do it in the morning. We had a hearing. At the hearing, I knew everyone there but two people. The people there were well-known figures or Democrat committee people, spouses of Democrat elected leaders or Democrat elected leaders, and then he had a couple Republicans, right? So there's two people. One was for, one was against. That essentially wouldn't be best as stakeholders in a political debate. I've heard from various people throughout this process as this has been going on. Later on, we had a press conference. At the press conference, I announced I'm vetoing this. Went through my reasons why. The main reason why is I've asked the legislature leadership to send me a bipartisan term limit bill, and I'll sign it. And I view that as compromise, because I don't believe in term limits. But I do believe that the public wants term limits. The question is, there's a debate over what term limit should be, right? And I think that's a good debate to have. So I told both leaders that the chairwoman knew that was my position going into the second round of approvals on this. The most bipartisan bill was actually the 4-4 bill. And so my veto basically said there's a path forward. I reached out to both leaders later in the day before this whole thing started and said, look, there's a path forward. Come together. Give me another Democrat on the 4-4, or you need to commit to Republicans to go to the other bill and give me a bipartisan bill. And that might mean you need to do some horse trading, which I used to have to do all the time when I was the chairman. And so that was that. When I got out of the press conference with the veto, I went over, like anything, when I sign a local law or I veto a local law, there's multiple hard copies. I was in a rush. I had to leave town. I read the first veto. It was my veto. It was my mess. Reviewed the message, made sure I signed it. I asked my attorney what these other copies were. He said that there are additional hard copies. I signed it. I left. I did not hear about this until I heard about a press conference later on that the Democratic legislators were making. This was clearly a clerical error. made by a staff member that the county attorney then missed. Clear. Lori Turoli, you know Lori Turoli, right, Jim? She was the county attorney, the deputy county attorney, worked under all 4 county executives. Nobody knows this charter and this code better than Lori. Not an outside counsel that specializes in marijuana, which the Democrat legislature has. Okay. Nobody knows it better than Lori. When I heard about this, I didn't go to the county attorney or anybody. I went to Lori, and she said, absolutely, you actually have till Friday to cure any clerical error because that's your 10-day window. And so the actual hard copies that I signed went to the legislature. They acknowledged that they received them both at the same time. What they were relying on is that an email went to them by a law clerk that I did not sign, right? An email went over there first for the acceptance of the local law, second for the veto. So really what's happening here is like bizarre. Everyone knew my position. They have vetoes. There was an error by a law clerk, and they're taking that as some sort of political victory instead of compromise with their colleagues.
Yeah, and this is what I feared was going to happen when the rhetoric became heated right away when the legislature switched. So now we're going to have this is all politics. This was a simple mistake. You had already announced you're going to veto it. Everybody knew you were going to veto it, and so what happened. Obviously, it's a clerical error. There's got to be something in the law that allows for that. We're going to have both elections commissioners on later to explain it. Do you believe that this will end up in court then?
Well, I think the path is like, it's honestly bizarre. Jim, remember, I was the chair of the legislature. I had this super majority. I had 14-3 once. I never would have done something like this to Joni Mahoney on a clerical error. I would have picked up the phone and called her and said, look, your staff just did this. Like, mistakes happen. What do I do? Fire the law clerk? Ruin her life over a mistake? It's crazy. So taking a clerical error made by a well-intentioned person who's just a public servant and trying to take a victory lap, which is BS. The victory lap is this. You want a path forward to get what you want? Send me a bipartisan bill, call a special session of the legislature, and we'll get it over to the Board of Elections on time for a referendum that you don't even need, by the way, Jim. The term limits don't need a referendum. They don't. So you can pass the law and it's the law. And so
that's interesting.
Yes. And so to me, this is kind of like unprecedented crazy. The mistake on us. We have people on our team that missed it, right? If I'm sitting there not having to catch a plane and run off to out of town, like maybe I read through all 4 documents I signed. But I read the first one, asked the question. There was a mistake made. They received the hard copy. They knew where I was. I spent a half hour answering good questions by the media. If they want to go to court over this, that's where it will go. If they act like their outside counsel is smarter than the lawyer who's been there forever, if they want to go to court over this, then they're going to likely lose, but they're going to cost the taxpayers a lot of money.
Yeah, they will do. It seems pretty obvious to me, but I would be in the courtroom for that one. That's for sure. Brian, thank you. I know you're in town. We're honored that you took time for us to explain this. We're going to have other people on throughout the course of the special, and we'll talk again when we get back.
Jim, but to be clear, in this term limit debate, I'm meeting them in the middle. I'll sign it, even though I don't necessarily like it. I don't think term limits have served the city of Syracuse well. I don't think we're stronger because of term limits or not stronger because of term limits, but I'll be in the middle. I just want them to work together. We are in a moment in time where we are doing historic things, and I need them to work together to make this all work.
Well, it doesn't seem like that's going to be on the horizon anytime soon, but we'll see. I mean, I want the same thing, obviously. Mike Rod coming in, we can't screw around with politics, especially with stuff this minute. And that's
exactly. Nobody is waking up this morning sweating out whether or not there's term limits on the next county executive. This doesn't even impact me. I promise everybody right now, I won't be county executive in my 60s. I promise you. So this is about the next county executive. And so let's get back to work, creating the jobs, building out the historic infrastructure, building housing like we've been doing.
Agree completely. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, he was great today, and I agree with it. I agree with all of it. So we'll see what
It's
you know,
silly.
our guest. It is silly. Yes, it is silly, and we'll see what our guests have to say coming up. But I just think it's politics. I think everyone is in favor of term limits. I like 12 years for everybody. I don't want to see people in Congress, especially the Senate, for 40 years, 50 years, and you're 85, and Mitch McConnell and all that ridiculous stuff. So 12 years and out. This was never meant to be a lifetime profession when the founding fathers decided to do it. It was supposed to be a temporary thing. You would go in for a few years in government and then get out and go back to whatever you were doing. Of course, the founding fathers also didn't want you and I to vote. They only wanted people like them to vote, wealthy, landowning white men, basically. But it works now after we changed some things, kind of. And we're not going to discuss today, of course, the president last night, because that was just insane. I know you didn't watch it. I watched it.
No, I was very busy.
Yes, very busy. And speaking of that, you're going to be very busy tonight on the boat, right?
Yeah, we got on the boat. We sold it out. Sold the boat out.
Oh, did you really? Good. Excellent. Excellent. Now that this
there's
YouTube
gonna
is
be another
cleared up. What's that?
There will be another one. We'll announce it in the week to come. Usually
Yeah.
we wait and see how the first one does for the year and then expand off of it. So
You get people who follow you. That's the difference. You get people who come out just to see you guys.
yeah. And then but it's a big weekend in Alexandria Bay also.
Is it
This
Pirate
weekend.
Weekend this
I
weekend?
think so. It's something like that or some sort of run, some sort of
Poker run or whatever.
in the summertime there's always
Yeah.
things going on. So we have coming up in a few minutes, we should have Dustin Zarni, our the Democratic commissioner
Right.
for elections, and then we'll have for the first time Kevin Ryan on. He's the Republican
Elections commissioner.
elections commissioner, the designated guy that works on that stuff. So, and then we'll end it off with our friend Marty Masterpole, the comptroller,
Right.
which
And
he
this-
is. He was part of this, and I don't know. I think we're making it a lot more difficult than it needs to be.
Yeah. And hopefully in the next couple of days, they come to their senses. We'll see. I know the county executive put out a statement after he had come on the show, by the way, and said everything in the statement that he said to us.
Yeah.
The exact same stuff. So it's, they can stop it. They can just say, okay, we'll take the veto. And then, I mean, his position is it wasn't bipartisan, and that's fine because it wasn't. And if you send one up that is, then he'll sign it, is what he said. But you can also prove that by overriding the veto, which they can't do. I mean, they don't have the votes. So I understand the Democrats are giddy about taking over the legislature and everything, and they're riding high on their other election wins, and they deserve to. But, not like this. Not, I mean, these little petty things. That's the word I was looking for. Petty. This is very petty. So just, stop it. That's what I would like to see happen. Are you in contact with someone there, Producer Bill?
I have the statement. I'm going to put it up on the screen here
good.
so you can see it. I just saw it just before we came on.
Yeah.
Put it up on the screen. Yeah, it came out right after we.
Right. I like that.
Let me see if I can get it here.
Giving us our props because nobody else had this. Although none of our local news stations. Interesting that the major networks did not carry the president last night. CBS carried some of it.
Boy, he was angry about that, wasn't he?
Yep. There's precedent for it. They didn't carry one of Obama's speeches, and they didn't carry one of Biden's speeches because they were political. They didn't carry this one because it was all nonsense. Where's the is the thing up? Is the statement up or no?
Trying to get it right now.
If it is, I can't see it. But basically, it's just rehashing what he told us. It's amazing to me that we can do this kind of thing. I'm in the bunker. You're at your house, the inner sanctum, and
There we go.
and he's in New Orleans. It's amazing to me. So this is basically exactly what he said to us.
Yep, we made a clerical error. That's on us. As soon as we discovered it, we promptly submitted the veto resolution that reflected exactly what I had as county executive already publicly announced. What's disappointing is what's happened next. Instead of acknowledging an obvious mistake, some chose to treat it like a political victory. It's everything he said in the interview.
Yep.
It's everything he said in the interview.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as I'm concerned, he's right. He's right on the money. So
yep.
I'll be interested to see what happens now, because it doesn't make any sense to continue this. Because it will have to end up in court if they just don't stop doing this. It will go to court, and that costs everybody money, and it costs everybody time. And then the county wins easily because it was obviously a clerical error. You know, some law clerk will fall on their sword and say, yes, I made the clerical error. And they don't deserve to get fired, by the way, for making one mistake. Give me a break. So that's what'll happen.
And to be honest, really, if you think about it, it's not like the end of the world.
No, it's not.
It really isn't.
No, it's like a little thing. But that's what we don't want to have happen. And we've said this, you and I have both said this on the podcast before. We don't want this kind of stuff. We don't want this kind of nonsense. We've got a $100 billion project in the county. What are you doing? What are you doing arguing about this stuff? Have you seen that site, by the way? I mean, Micron. I mean, they put up like a little town in there, power poles and big tents,
dude,
all kinds of stuff.
There's like roads now.
I know. It's like, it looks like a little city going up. It's pretty amazing. So if anyone still has reservations about whether or not they're coming, they should go. Like I've said before, take a ride out, on a Sunday and just drive by.
You can't go in there. They'll
they frown on that.
Yeah. It's like Area 51 back there right now.
Yeah, it should be.
We have our friend Dustin here with us now.
All right. So this is Democratic Elections Commissioner Dustin Zarni is joining us. All right. So what now is the position, your position on this whole term limits thing?
So my position is pretty simple. 4108B of New York State election law says that if we receive a transmission from the appointed clerk for the political subdivision in a timely manner, and that's 3 months before election day, that we are to place this on the ballot. We have received that transmission today, and I will be voting to place it on the ballot. We do have a disagreement here at the board, though, about whether to place it on the ballot. Commissioner Ryan, I believe you're going to have him on. You'll get his side of this later on. Yeah. And, when commissioners disagree, we will go to court. But I don't think we'll be the only ones going to court here. I'm sure the county executive and the county legislature will be part of this. And, and that's what I expected 48 hours ago when I heard about all of this.
So my question, of course, then is why? Why are we doing this? Why are we taking this to the extreme and taking it to court? Why?
Well, Jim, that's not a question for me. That's a question for the legislature and the county executive. I'm a ministerial agency, and to be quite honest, you don't want me to make those decisions. I wasn't elected to make those decisions. This is a decision between the legislature and the executive. In general, not speaking on this specific piece of legislation, but in general, I'm very much in favor of letting the voters decide these matters. Mm-hmm. And it is very important to remember that we're not fighting about whether term limits are enacted or whether term limits are not enacted. We're fighting about whether the voters should get a say on that. And that seems to me where I would land. But I'm not an elected legislator. I'm not an elected county executive. These are their decisions. Our decision is just to put it before the voters if legally received. I believe it has been, but when there are disagreements in our New York State election system, we do go to court, and that's okay. It is an expense. Some lawyers are going to make some money, but not a lot of expense. And I don't think that this will be a long, protracted case. But when we have this disagreement, the only place to settle this, and the proper place to settle this, is in court.
Well, we can argue about that because you're kind of passing the buck to Ryan in the legislature, but your ruling and your counterpart's ruling is going to put this in court. So you do have some skin in the game.
Well, you see, that's where I'll push back. I don't have a choice. The election law is very clear. 4108B, it doesn't even say that I have the ability to not rule this on or the ability to take it back. And to be quite honest, you don't want me to have that ability. I'm not a king. I'm an elections commissioner. And a lot of times people look to the elections board to solve political problems.
Well,
that's not our role.
No,
our role is to count the votes. This is a political issue. It's going to go to court. It was going to go to court the moment that the disagreement between the legislature and the executive happened over the approval. And I will say that you don't want me making a decision based on fiscal responsibility about whether democracy should be enacted. You want me making a decision about whether democracy should be enacted based on election law. And that's what I've done.
Yeah, that's very true.
All right. So before you go, Dustin, can you tell us where the paper goes from the point the legislators voted? It's now on his desk. He has now vetoed it. Where does it go from there?
Well, I would say the legislature thinks that he approved it, but now it comes to us. And again, as I've said in several media posts, this is usually the least controversial part of our job. This is, but why shouldn't this be controversial like everything else has become over the last few years? But normally we would get it. If it's received timely from the clerk, we would put it on the ballot, let the voters decide. That's normally what would happen. Now we're kind of in an undiscovered country. This is very unique. It's new. It's novel. We haven't had this question debated where there's, a lot of times with town boards, when they're putting these resolutions on, the supervisor is part of the board body. They don't have a veto rule, and so there isn't this controversy. Either it passed or it didn't. Now there is this controversy. And to be quite honest, in all of my time as elections commissioner, the resolutions I've gotten from the county ledge haven't been controversial because either he signed it or he didn't. Now we have this. And I think I think at first when I heard about this, I was like, well, geez, this seems silly. But I'll tell you what, the engagement that I have gotten on this from active voters calling us about it, this is a matter that the voters want us to resolve and they want us to solve. And that alone means we're going to have to spend the time and money to go to court to do it. And I think the voters want us to come to a resolution on this about whether it's on the ballot as quick as possible. And I hope the courts will comply.
Interesting. All right. Thank you, Dustin. Appreciate it. So there's the Democratic Elections Commissioner's side, and we're due to have the Republican commissioner on as well. So
Aren't you glad you never got into this stuff?
Yes. Oh, yeah. No. Boy, can you imagine? Nope. This is crazy because, again, and he pushed back on it, but I busted him for saying, look, man, all you had to do was say, no, we don't have to do this. He vetoed it. It's all good. Then it's over. You don't have to go to court. So he's following the exact letter of the law. That's fine. But if that's not always the issue, okay, it's also about intent. And of course, the intent was, I screwed up. Here's the real thing. So that's what it'll come down to in court. And the county executive's going to win. But we got to put up with this nonsense first. And I don't, I understand. I get it. We're going to go by the, the rule of law and stuff. But it's what do you call it? Silly, right?
It's very. I don't
Very.
know. I don't. I will never understand. Have the utmost grasp on understanding everything in the political
No,
anymore.
no, right.
You used to be, not cut and dry, but at least you could follow it a little bit. Like what happens now? Was the veto, the bill that was vetoed, was that also turned into?
Yes. So what happened was, according to Ryan, this is according to Ryan, what happened was he had 4 hard copies. Well, one of them was the signing it into law, and he didn't know that. The other 3 were vetoes.
Right,
So
yeah.
he signed it all, and the clerk sent it, but she sent the other one first, the one that puts the law into effect. So Dustin's point is, listen, we got this. This is what the law says. I got to do this. But again, it's all about what's the intent of what happened, because they sent the other one right away, I guess. So,
But is there also do they have that? Can they do that? Can they actually say, let's take the second one and not the first one? That's why when he was,
right. So Dustin says, no, you can't.
Yeah.
That's what Dustin's point is. No, you can't take the second one. And the county executive's point is, well, yes, you can, because we messed up. That's all. It's not like it was intentional or anything like that. It's all silly. Now, a judge could refuse to hear it. A judge could dismiss it. So
Kevin's here.
Is he?
Yep.
Introduce him for me.
It's Mr. Kevin Ryan. He is the Onondaga County Republican Elections Commissioner. Thanks for having us. Thanks for coming on with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so Dustin was on just a few minutes ago, and he insists that he's going by the rule of law when it comes to election law. What is your take on this whole thing?
Well, that he's not going by the rule of the law, that we may be required to accept a document as received here, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to go on the ballot. The county charter says that within 10 days of legislation being passed, the county executive can either sign it into law or he can veto it. In this case, while he may have signed a document suggesting an intent to sign into law, he clearly and unequivocally submitted a veto memorandum, which is consistent with his public statements. And everybody acknowledges he submitted a veto memorandum. Chairwoman Watts acknowledged that as well. So I don't understand what the question is here as to why we're playing these games. I mean, the county executive said he's going to veto the law. He did that, and he did it within the requisite time frame of 10 days as specified in section 210 of the county charter. Now, I read the memorandum from the lawyers representing the county legislature, and I will say that at best it's a novel legal theory, and I will leave it at that.
Well, I'm not going to leave it at that. So I would
not.
agree. If I could read the memorandum, I'm sure I would agree. Listen, this is politics, and this is tiny, small time politics. And it's silly, as Bill said, and that we're going to call it that from now on. But, Kevin, is the court the only place to settle this?
Yes. Well, they could bring it back to the legislature and get 12 votes to override the veto, I guess. But absent that, correct. Yeah, they have to go to court to settle this, because I'm not going to agree to have this placed on the ballot for a referendum when I know that the county executive evidenced an intent to veto the law.
Yeah, it seems pretty cut and dried to me too. And I'm, when we talk about the rules of law and matters of law, it's got to be, you have to go before a judge and try to explain this, and you show all the facts that you have on your side, and it just seems to me like this is silly. Is that a friend of yours there, producer Bill?
I know that looks like is that your son, Kevin?
Danny Ryan?
It is. He's waiting for me to go home, and I said I'm stuck. I'm at work doing an interview with a respected member of the local media, and so I will be home after that.
That phone call was that was probably Ryan McMahon calling from warning you that I was going to interview you. All right, so if we go to court, can a judge simply look at this, Kevin, and just dismiss it out of hand?
A judge could. A judge could. I can't imagine a situation where a judge is going to refuse to hear it. I mean, I think that a judge, we have a pretty good bench of judges at the Supreme Court here locally, and I think they all take their job pretty seriously. And that goes for both Democrat and Republican judges. And I can't imagine anyone simply not agreeing to hear this case. So they will. And then they'll issue a decision and they will rule as they feel is appropriate. But again, I can't imagine any circumstance in which this matter gets to the ballot. Again, I think what we have here is, someone might have mentioned it earlier, this is political gamesmanship. I mean, I think that this is exactly the type of, to coin the phrase that was used back in December, the left-wing chaos that was predicted when the Democrats took the majority. And so far, they've done nothing to disabuse us of that notion. I mean, they have undergone a wholesale change of the IDA board, including firing people that had been on there 6 weeks. And now this, I think it's a reflection of a group that has been in the legislative minority for 50 years. And now that they've got the power, they're going to flex their muscles and exercise that power as best they can. And the consequences be damned. I mean, we live by the rule of law in this country and in this county. And the procedures by which a question gets before the voters for a referendum are clearly spelled out. And that's what was done here. And to be clear, I don't take a position on term limits. My opinions are my own, and I'm not going to share those. And this isn't a matter of trying to deprive the voters of having their say. It's simply the fact that the way that a referendum gets on the ballot is expressly and unequivocally spelled out, and that's what has been followed here. And any notion that that the first document is what governs and the second veto memorandum is irrelevant, that's just, it's silly. It's a silly argument. And the only people that are going to win here are going to be the lawyers, because you're going to have separate legal counsel for the executive branch, for the legislature, and separate counsel for Dustin and I. So that's at least 4 sets of lawyers. And look, as an attorney that has practiced law for 30 years, I always love legal fees, and I want to see lawyers get their due. But taxpayers have to pay for this, and there's a way to go about this, and I don't think they followed it.
Billable hours, baby. That's what it's all about. Billable hours. All right,
Living life in increments of 0.6 at a time, right?
Thank you for your time, Kevin. I appreciate it very much.
You're welcome.
You can go hang out with Danny now.
That's right.
Thanks.
We'll see you later.
That's the Republican side. So I just hate to hear him say, yeah, that's the only way we can do it is the courts, but I guess it is. And that's it. And he said the same thing that you had said earlier. Is silly.
It's
The whole
just
thing is silly.
a waste of taxpayer money.
Yeah, it is. And I agree. Listen, I covered the legislature back in the 80s and 90s when the Republicans kicked the Democrats around all the time. Okay. And this is when the legislature was much larger than it is now. And the Republicans held sway over everything. And, they let the Democrats know it. And the Democrats really had very little say in anything. I get it. I do. But doing this kind of thing is stupid. It makes you, Democrats, look small. It makes you look petty. And you're coming off victories, really important victories, okay, for you politically, okay? If that's the case, why are you dealing with this stuff? It makes no sense. Why aren't you dealing with the big issues right now? Since you're in charge now, start dealing with big issues. I don't understand why you're dealing with this junk. Bill, you've driven around a lot more than I have. The highways are really changing. It's amazing.
I've had tire issues because
have
of
you
the
really?
roads.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, everything's changing here. We need to get on board. You need to get ready. We need to fix things. And this is not helping. This is stupid.
I think the biggest thing that plagues this entire nation is infrastructure right now.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, look at what's happening on with these sinkholes in the area.
Oh man,
right across from our friends at the 443 listening room.
Yeah,
social club.
That's right at the bottom of the Gaddis off ramp too. That was really bad. People don't even want to know. Okay, what's underground Armory Square? You don't even want to go there, because way back in the day, Nick Puro had the idea that, look, the water infrastructure is done, so we have to do it all, but you're going to have to shut down Armory Square for like 6 months. And naturally, people freaked out. They couldn't do it. So now they've had, I don't know, since then, probably 20 water main breaks down there, which is going to result sooner or later in a big sinkhole. I mean, there's still wooden pipes in the city down buried underneath Armory Square. Wooden pipes. So stupid. So
we have our Onondaga County comptroller with us now, Marty Masterpole. He's the other guy that they talk about in this.
yes,
Look at him.
Gentlemen, how are you? Can you hear me? Is my
yes, we hear
mic
you.
working?
Marty, how are you?
I'm well, Jim. How are you? Nice to see you, Bill.
Fantastic. Now, as comptroller, this would affect you, the term limits. They not you particularly, but the position. First of all, what is your take on the term limits?
You know, I much like a primary we just witnessed, term limits happen on election day, right? But I favor term limits. I get it. And I do think that 12 years is a fair amount of time. 8 years, what happens at City Hall, for example, you're in your first term, you're grinding away, the mayor's doing what they can do, and then all of a sudden they're a lame duck for 4 years. Now, you know, that's a strong word, and I'm not accusing anybody of not doing their job as mayor the second 4 years, but it just sort of is what it is. Then you look at the other alternative, the 16-year proposal that was on the legislature's desk, and you know that's not a term limit, that's a career. So
Yes.
I like the 12 years. I like to think I will have self-imposed term limits. There is no chance of me being here till 2042 as it the local law stands at the moment. So
are you sure that's yours or Mrs. Masterpole's law?
Exactly. That would have I would have been termed out in 2002 if that were the case. Yeah. So look, I believe in the legislative branch of government strongly. They passed this. It got to the county executive's desk. He did what he did. I can't speak to. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to play one. But you know, really, Jim, I think it's important to talk about maybe even how I was invited here today, because you had mentioned in the last podcast, understandably so. Well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, basically, and the ledge should have term limits. They do. Not only did they give themselves term limits, but they did something else that I like. They changed from 2 years to 4 years because, once again, 2-year term, you're campaigning, you're not governing. So last year, the legislature passed it, I believe unanimously, I think. Now I'm second guessing myself on, I think they changed the 4 years and 3 4-year limits. It got to the voters. It got over 70%, 73% voted in favor of this proposition. And here we are. You know, my only pushback to the county executive on this decision-wise is let the voters decide this. There's two things I'm hearing anecdotally in social media and the media and all the above. People seem to like term limits and they want them across the board, legislative, comptroller, county executive, and they want the voters to decide on it. That's what appears to be happening here. And I just don't understand why the county executive did what he did on purpose, accidentally, arbitrarily. I don't know. I haven't spoken with him, and you know, it's really not important if I do or not.
He did. Right. So the flip side of that coin, Marty, is all of this could have been avoided if people would just admit this was a stupid error and let's move on. Now, I want to see term limits on the ballot. I do, because I'm in favor of term limits, and I like 12 years and I like 4-year terms. I think all of that's great. I do. But if he says I'm vetoing this, you know, and we put the wrong paper in first, I mean, come on. We got bigger things to worry about than this, I guess is my point.
Strongly agree. But your first goal can be accomplished by look, I'm not going to play lawyer, and nor do I think I'll take a little knock at my friend Kevin Ryan, and I will say my friend Kevin Ryan, we've had a good political jaunts back and forth, but he's not there to play lawyer. He's there to play elections commissioner, and he has to do his job as elections commissioner, and it's to put on the ballot. Now, slugged out in court, whatever a judge may decide, I fully support that. But we have to go by the law. The legislature, has to go by the law. The law states, according to their attorney, this is law. I'm not going to play lawyer. I don't know. I agree with you. Let's fix pipes. Let's get people out of poverty. All of the above. I'm strongly in support of the same mission that you are, but this is look, let's be frank with each other. Jim, you've watched Ryan McMahon's political career, governmental career, as long as I have.
Yep.
He dots every I, he crosses every T. This is very out of character, and dare I say intentional? I don't know. I wouldn't think so, but this is an unforced. This is an uncharacteristic of the county executive.
True. That's all true. Are you in witness protection, or I mean, why can
No,
we?
What I am is somebody put this fancy background up, and I don't know how to take it off. That's where I am. I'm sitting in my office.
I like it.
My county badge on. I'm to get in and out of my office. I'm here. I'm working at Jesus. What time is it? 2:40 on a Friday. I'd rather be somewhere else, but I am here.
And isn't Tip Hill Festival this weekend?
It is St. Patrick's Festival in Tip Hill. It's a good fundraiser for the church. A lot of fun. Mere Mortals. Bill knows all the people in that band, and then they have forget what the West End group or something. John Gooley, Maureen Hennessy, Sean Halloran. There's a good Davoli. They got a really good group.
Wow.
So don't worry about term limits. No one ultimately cares, but come down and have a beer and watch some great music, right?
And then tomorrow is the first day of the mitzvah. Am I right, Marty?
It is.
Oh,
What's about? Have you been in? Has he given you a sneak peek?
No, we're gonna go in there. I might go in there tomorrow.
Yeah, great. And text me, because maybe I can sneak you upstairs to Tom's apartment, which is
oh my God, we were talking about that.
Ridiculous is the only word to describe. But God bless them, the success, and we all love success. So
that's Tom
Mike
Serio.
and Tom and everyone.
That's Tom Serio. We're talking about the developer that put the whole thing together.
Yeah. So Bill and I went in there when they were doing it, and he brought us up and showed us what was going to be his apartment, and we were just like, this is perfect. This is perfect.
We can sneak in and live there, and you'd never know. Down at the other wing.
All right, Marty, we got to move on. I appreciate it, man. Especially on short notice for a special edition. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you.
We'll see you.
He's great. That was, again, silly. That's what it is. It's silly, but we're going to do this, I guess. I just think the county executive is going to win on this one. That's a little conspiracy theory-ist when he said it might have been intentional. That's something I would do, but I don't think that's something Ryan would do. So you go before a judge and you lay this out, and they're like, "Why are we even here? I mean, what are we doing?" So I don't know.
Maybe I'll find a lawyer we can have come on and kind of maybe explain what the next steps are for in the law portion of it for the next program.
I think just go to court. This is not like a criminal case or even a civil case. I don't think there's discovery or all that stuff. I think they just go before a judge and each present their case, and that's about it. So stupid, so silly. Not stupid. Let's not call it stupid. Call it silly. Silly. All right. So you go into Uncle Sam's boat tour tonight, right?
Yeah. Sunday, if you're not doing anything, there's a new place out, and it's not new. They've been around a while. It's called Tim's Pumpkin Patch. I think it's out near the Moravia area.
Okay.
And it's a seasonal pumpkin patch, but they've got entertainment. They're going to do entertainment this year. They had problems in the past with their neighbors and the noise and stuff. I guess they've figured all that out.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. That.
I'm there solo on Sunday at 4:00 at Tim's Pumpkin Patch. So you can, I know it's a little early before we get into the.
There's not pumpkins yet.
No, but they have a beautiful area up there.
Nice. I do remember that controversy because it was actually becoming pretty popular.
We played the first year they were open. The Scars and Stripes played. It was nice, and it was a nice October fall day.
That's the reason they shut down.
That one
because of noise. That's why. All right, so this was great. Thanks, Bill, for setting this up. That was really awesome. And I guess next week, and I'll get out of the bunker now. I guess you told me that it was nice out, so I guess I'll believe it. Take care of yourselves, all right? And God willing, we're all back at it next time on the Jim Reith Show Unleashed podcast.